Okay, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's funny I'm doing these on Sundays now, but Sunday morning is the best time for me. So let us get into it. I'm trying to shorten these as well. But of course, we're going to start with our economic events this week. So Monday, we have this PMI flash. Not sure if the market's really going to react to it, but again, we're going to be aware of it. Wednesday, we have the Fed interest rate decision, and Powell is going to speak at 2:30. So we know that that may move things. Also, keep in mind that this is a heavy, heavy earnings week. So things could be a little crazy this week. Then Thursday, we have this durable goods. Not sure if that'll move much, but we also have jobless claims. Oh, the crickets are competing with me today. Pending home sales, and then that is it for the week. We don't have anything else on Friday. Oh, we have this PCE price index on Friday. So then you also have Microsoft and Google who have earnings on Tuesday, and then we have Meta who has earnings on Wednesday. So it's crazy earnings week, so we should be kind of busy this week. All right, so let us start with our normal things. I realized that last week I didn't go through the sectors, um, but I'm going to just do it briefly this week just because I want to just see where things are at, but I don't want to take up too much time. So looking at the VIX, we are kind of sideways. You can see that. However, we have built a base here. Y'all notice that we're basing. So we're basing to go either one or two directions, either up or down. Now we know that July is usually seasonally bullish. So if for some reason it does do a two down, we do still have room to drop to the downside, especially if the market likes what Powell says and if it likes the earnings reports. We can still go up. However, you will soon see a lot of the charts don't say that we don't look like that we're about to go up. But again, because of the news that we have this week, these things can definitely turn around. So I would really keep an eye on the VIX, because if the VIX does this two up above 14, 15, and then heads to the upside, we could see some red in the market. Otherwise, we could see a reversal and a turnaround from all of these shooters that we see if the VIX does decide to break down. It would really need to break this 13, around 13, with some force, because that's where it's really been kind of basing at. So we're keeping an eye on that. Also keeping an eye on the dollar. You see it broke through our broadening formation, but it recovered. So now if this does a 2-1-2 up, this can move back in the upwards direction. And then basically this would have just been a TTO and reversal. So really interesting to see what this does. It did broaden this broad. Or do we 2-1-2 maybe make an H and come on back down? So that's what the dollar is doing. And now getting to the shooters. So you're going to see this a lot where we have this 3-2 up but red and shooter on the week. So if the NASDAQ breaks this 15,425 where it's at, I mean it closed at the low of the week, then I'm really looking for some downside either next week or at least to start the week. Again, Microsoft and Powell could turn things around. But it's looking like we're going to start the week red. So the target for that will be 14,922, but I'm thinking that it may hesitate right here at this 8 EMA. But we need some correction, because if you look at it, every time it goes away from that, it either gives it time to catch up or it reverses back down to correct to the EMAs. And I'm going to do another video about that shortly. So I'm looking for NASDAQ to come down and test that. One thing we also kind of see, this kind of looks like a head. So it would need to break back above that to make that not valid. But this entire area could be the shoulder area. So we do have two gaps to fill here. And so it can come fill this gap, and honestly it can just chop in this area and decide if it wants to fall and make that a head and shoulders or move back to the upside. So that is that is NASDAQ. The Dow broke out of this inverted head and shoulders that it had on the week. So this played out, and it broke out of that shoulder. So now it's in this chop area that it was in before. Still bullish, but no actionable signal here. There is an actionable signal on the day. However, it's a red inside bar, and it looks like it needs some correction, at least down to this 8. So, the Dow has been stronger than the other indices last week. So if everything else is weak, this may lag, but then if this starts to turn too, then we may really see some red in the market. But looking at it on the day, did it TTO here? Not quite. So it hasn't taken these people out. So it may still push to the upside to take them out, that swing high, or that push up could have just been, because if you think about it, when it pushed out of here, it took these people out. So, but it kept going. So the Dow, I think, will be something to watch to see, because that is the strongest one out of all of them for the previous week. IWM didn't really do a whole lot. Didn't really end as a shooter. No actionable signal here. On the daily, though, it's kind of looking like this could possibly be a head, so we need to break above that 197. If it does break above it, I'm still looking for it to try to get to 200. So, if everything does, correct some, and then boom, I'm looking for it to go to 200. And then, of course, we have this monthly broadening formation here. But, yeah, a lot of these things are looking like we could have possibly made a head over this past week. And that's where those shooters come from. It's basically a head on the week, and then the shooters go in force, we should see the shoulder start to form. So, yeah, so that's IWM. The Qs look exactly like NASDAQ. A lot of them have this 3-2 up, so it's looking like a possible 3-2 up, 2 down reversal. It would need to break this 375.60, and then it can come down to about 366, or even this 364.12. And watch Apple and Microsoft here, because although the Qs didn't make new highs, Apple and Microsoft did, and you know that they moved them. So that if they decide to fall, then that we'll see some weakness there. However, also remember that Microsoft is a humongous portion of the Qs. So whatever they do on earnings is really going to move this. So it's really hard to determine how this is going to go because of earnings. We do have a shooter here, though. So, before earnings, let's see, Microsoft ATR is $5. If it really wanted to do this 3-2 up, 2 down, it could do that Monday and Tuesday and fulfill it, and then bounce from there, or whatever it decides to do from earnings. We'll get to that. But watch Microsoft in reference to the Qs to see how this shooter plays out. And then again, you see a lot of them look like we got a head here. So this will be the shoulder area. We do have a couple of gaps to fill here, 368.51. So it can definitely come on down to the downside. It's breaking below these EMA, the 8 EMA. We do know, though, it has not broken below the 20 EMA since April. And even then, it was a slight correction. So it could possibly do the same thing. Come down, fill this gap, and that be the slight correction, and then go back to the upside if Microsoft earnings wants to push it up there. Or it could fall. And, we'll get to that when we get to Microsoft and Apple in a little bit, and why I think that SPY does not have an actionable signal here. It's kind of like a shooter, but it's green. So again, you would want to watch Apple and Microsoft to see what SPY does. We do have a nice inside day, so we can see what it does on Monday. If it starts pushing to the downside, we do have a couple of gaps to fill here. First one here is this 443. And we know that 443 before was a very strong resistance. You can see here where it tested it a couple times, and then it finally gapped above it. So it may come back down and actually retest it. Just like the Qs, it hasn't even tested, broken below. The last time it broke below was May, and it recovered. So every time it's broken below the 20, it's basically recovered since March of this year. So I wouldn't be completely bearish. I am starting to be a little bit bearish because of these shooters, but I wouldn't be completely bearish until we start seeing these EMAs turn to the downside and it break below them and hold. Otherwise, we're just looking for corrective activity at this moment. Um, and, again, July is usually bullish, although we only have 1 week of July left. Okay, keep that in mind. We have 1 week of July left, and some stocks did hit new all-time highs. So we may have had our seasonality. So I'm ready either way, and I want you to be as well. So again, we have this inside day and that possible gap that we would be looking for with SPY. All right, so Apple is what I wanted to point out to y'all. So you will see this on my weekly list in a little bit because we have this evening star on the week. I love this shooter. This is a really, really small bodied candle. And we had last week, we were looking for our 122 up rev strat. We got that up to new highs. We hit our broadening formation, and I mean, immediately rejected and did not recover. For me, because we immediately rejected and could not recover, I am looking for this 2 up, 2 down next week to get Apple back to this 186.56. Apple doesn't have earnings until the following next week, so it can definitely do that correction. We hit all-time highs. It's exhausted. It hit the top of our broadening formation, so I'm really looking for Apple to come on back in. This may be our head. This will be our shoulder. So shoulder, head, shoulder. We can get a little bit of corrective activity to that 186. And then again, it may reverse from there. And if it does, then I'm still looking for it to get to about 200. We did hit that 198.22, so that would be the first one. If it doesn't double top there, then it may go ahead and push to 200 exactly. So just have to see how it does, how this week. I think this week is going to be pretty exciting. Microsoft, you have kind of the same thing. So with Apple and Microsoft, I left the broadening formations that I had there because I wanted to show this to you. Microsoft also has evening star on the week where we TTO'd, made new all-time highs, and came back in. So we have a possible 3-2 up, 2 down reversal here. Microsoft may come down to this 327.20 again. We have earnings on Tuesday after close, so this could do this Monday and Tuesday or not, or it could wait till Tuesday and then do it, or who knows. So keep an eye on that. Earnings makes the contracts really expensive, so it may be something you want to play after and see how it does. Microsoft can also move the market, so keep that in mind. This is really going to be my top watch this week. And then also Meta, the same thing, has earnings on Wednesday. And Meta, I had been swinging Meta from back here for this gap fill. So now that we filled the gap, once we filled the gap, we actually filled that gap and then just died from there. So I think this will be a critical point for it to see what it's going to do from there. So if you see weakness in Meta and Microsoft, you may see a lot of weakness in the market. Nvidia also has an inside shooter. So Nvidia doesn't have earnings or anything. It's just something I wanted to point out. So really quickly, as I said I was going to do this quickly, we're going to go through the sectors. XLY, you got the red shooter reversal there. So not a whole lot of room, but it could 2 up, 2 down. Red, so possible 322 reversal down to that 64.52. XLK, we have this evening star on the week. So yeah, again, I'm going to do a video about that. It's a pattern that Kiki recently taught me, but look, you can kind of see it over here too. This is an evening star, and look what happened afterwards. Yeah. So not to say that that's gonna happen, but that's a really tight shooter on the week. XLK, that's gonna be your Microsoft, your Apple, things like that. So again, this could turn around, but looking for that 3-2 up, 2 down. XLE is another sector that I like for the week because we have this inside week, and it looks like we have some recovery. So if we're going to break to the upside, XLEs often moves against the market. So if the market is red, then XLE may be green. So keep your eye on that for the inside week. No actionable signal on financials. Financials are just doing well and strongly moving. Some of them have triggered the monthlies up and the quarterlies, because remember we were talking about MS. So can expect those to continue to move to the upside with your financials. XLU, your utilities are similar to financials. Oh, well, this has not triggered yet, but this does have a double inside quarter. So whenever these do blow, my gracious, it was the month that these have triggered up. So XLU, your utilities have triggered the monthlies up. XLI, industrial, again, no actionable signal here. It's just kind of hitting highs here. XLV boomed last week, that 212 up. And I mean, it took out all of them. So, now we gotta have to see where that goes. Yeah, it triggered the month up and it already hit its monthly target, but it's breaking out of this double inside quarter. So that is where that strength comes from. So XLP, again, is the same thing. It broke out. Hasn't broken out on the quarter, but it has triggered up on the month. 3, 2 down, 2 up on the month. Remember, we only have about 1 week left of month. So find one of your favorite stocks and you may be able to catch the last bits of that. Real estate, you got your inside. This is more like a Morningstar doji here. So if this does a 212 up and if it even breaks that 38.85, it may break to the upside. Got a nice kind of W there. So this may decide it's going to move to the upside. XLB, your material sectors, still kind of stuck in this range here, but once it breaks out of here, it may actually move. XOP looks a lot like XLE, except it's not inside. What it is a TTO and reversal. So you got this outside bar here. You want to see if the bulls are going to continue it. Right now you have full time frame continuity, so if it does a 3-2 up, then you can target that 139.83. So XOP and XLE may be decent moves to the upside next week. Retail kind of hit this resistance right here and went twice. So it would really need to break above here to see some momentum. Jets, we were talking about airlines because, it's summer, it's travel season, that type of thing. So it had its corrective activity and now we have an inside week. So if we do bust to the upside, that may have been our corrective activity after this run and we can continue moving to the upside. Lithium had a beautiful 2 up, 2 down reversal, hit its target. So not much there. SOXL has kind of been stuck in this range, but we know that it does that. It stays stuck in a range. It may have been allowing these EMAs to catch up to it, which it did, but you see that it's finding support here. So it's actually doing pretty well. If it does any reversal, it may come back down to this 22 or so. Of course, NVIDIA and AMD would move that, so y'all would need to watch those to see what they did in reference to SOXL. IYT is a transportation ETF that we were talking about because, again, summertime, so you're doing this. Well, we saw it do this push up now, and it's basically looking like it's headed for that target. Let's see. Did it? Was the monthly? No. Was it the 2 week? No, there's just no actionable signal here. It's just going straight up. So you really need some corrective activity inside week or something. And China. One thing you will notice with China, with your favorite China stock, is you're going to see an inside bar here. It may be red, but it can go either way. Like, for instance, I was looking at Baba. Baba has an inside week. It's a doji, so it's indecision. But we do know that that can go either way. So if you see it move to the upside, you may want to catch that upside move. All right, so those are your sectors. We are in the middle, smack in the middle of a 2 week bar, so we have no 2 week setups to go on. The 50% month hasn't really, I did update the list, but nothing is really standing out. You do have, Starbucks already completed it. It finally hit that 102. And Affirm is the only one I think that caught my eye as far as, you know, if it's going to do it. If things turn to the downside, a lot of these that triggered them and came back in may actually just been shorted there. I'm not sure why Walmart is on here. Oh yeah, this is, yes. So PG instead actually triggered them up to the upside. But you see, this is actually a perfect example of how we say something can trigger the 50% rule, but that's also an area where people either buy or sell. And that's exactly what they did here. That's where they bought at, that 50%, and it sent it right back up. So okay, we did SPY, we did the Qs. I believe that's it. We're just gonna get to the weekly list now of what I like. Okay, so out of the sectors, my favorites are XLK, of course, because of that shooter, and then XLE because of that green inside week. It looks like it's ready to bust. Marvel has a shooter that looks similar to XLK. So if it does this 2 up, 2 down, you can have a nice move there. TTD also has a shooter. It may not give all of this up, but even if it came down to, let's say halfway, still a $4 move. All right. MRK has a nice recovery there. We had a TTO and recovery. So want to see if the bulls will step back in and turn this. Now, the monthly trigger is 114.53 to turn the time frame continuity on the month to the green. So if it can break above this 110.69 and make it to that next target, it will flip time frame continuity green. So watching that, it could also just do an inside week and then move, or either way. But I'm just looking to see if the bulls continue, because they stepped in here, and I want to see if they continue that move to the upside. Nets, you have a absolutely beautiful shooter here. I mean, that thing is so tight. It's as tight as this line right here. So 3, 2 up, 2 down reversal. EMPH, same thing. You got a 2 up, 2 down reversal. Google is another one that has what Kiki calls